Hey guys, John Candiver here with JJ Entertainment. Wanting to do another gear log on a power distro that we use for a lot of our events. For us, kind of at that weird stage of the industry where I'm kind of a single op, I'm making the move into a multi-op. I'm still kind of a DJ, but we're starting to do more production stuff. And buying a distro for us, it was one of those items where yes, it would come in handy to have, but it's not one of those items that we absolutely needed, like road cases or mics or lights or stuff like that. So we always ended up just renting one or borrowing one from someone if we needed it. But I'll tell you what, after we got one, we've used it every weekend since. It is, like I said, it's one of those things that you don't really need, but once you have it, you find out that it really comes in handy. So what we did is we found a really good deal with a company that out in Vegas that was going out of business. I believe it was a construction company, but they had about 30 to 40 of these what they call spider boxes, and they're used a lot in construction sites. They're outdoor safe. What I failed to realize when I purchased these, or this particular one, is that I wasn't paying attention, and I got the one that had the twist lock, the L20 NEMA plugs. So there's a fix for that. I'll explain that in a second. Just run through the real quick. This is a 50 amp power distro. 106 20 amp 125 volt outlets, and it also has 130 amp 250 volt outlet. We don't use that guy. It's there. It'll be great for future if we need it, but right now we don't use any 30 amps. We just pretty much use all the 20s. Each outlet has its own GFI built in, and you also have breakers for all your outlets. You have your 620 amp breakers and your 130 amp breaker. Like I said, this is a 50 amp power distro. It'll take 50 amps in. It'll also has a through output, so you can send that 50 amp cable into another one of these units or into another distro. Now you may be wondering when you would need to do something like that. A prime example would be for the MMA fights that we do. The MMA fights we have the original 50 amp power drop that comes directly from a 50 amp twist lock plug they have in the breaker room, comes down into our AV booth where this particular unit sets. But then there's sometimes we need 50 amps of power, or we need more, there's more power on the actual rig itself. So what we would do then is we will take the power or the 50 amp out of this, sort of like power linking in a sense, how you would power link your par cans or your other fixtures. And we're going to come out of this fixture, run another cable all the way up to the rig, and then have one of these guys bolted to the rig. And then now we also have 50 amps of clean dedicated power up on the rig itself. Now keep in mind, you are sharing that 50 amps with the other unit down on the floor or down in the AV booth. So it's not like you have two 50 amp runs. You're just linking them together. So it is nice that it has that feature built in. The NEMA L520s, which is the twist lock plugs, you can go to the manufacturer and you can replace this whole assembly with a typical 520, which is the Edison plugs you guys are probably used to working with. Problem is that we needed it up and running that weekend. I didn't realize my mistake until the day we got it. So we were out of time, wouldn't have time to order it. I didn't have time to go get a distro that we needed, but luckily Lowe's had the NEMA L520 twist lock plugs. And they also had the NEMA 520 and 515, the non-locking version plug. So what I did was I pretty much just made a little jumper. It is a foot-long cable. It gives you your twist lock, which plugs into the distro. And then this particular cable is a 515, which is just a 15 amp cable. We also have the 520s, which is the plugs that are rated for 20 amps. So I just made a jumper, and pretty much we just take these jumpers and we plug them in, and this end hangs off, and that's what we plug into. So now we're looking at the power inside of the distro. This is a twist lock connector, and for you guys that aren't familiar with this, the twist lock connectors, they're not cheap. They're nearly double the price of what you would pay for the typical straight style plug. So let me show you what this cable looks like. This is the female end of the cable. These plugs right here run you about $35. They're not cheap by any means of the imagination. The 6'4" SOW cable that you use is a good $3 to $4 depending where you get it per foot. So when you have a couple hundred feet of this stuff, we have 125. It adds up really quick. So it is a twist lock again. So what happens is the cable goes in, it twists, it locks, it doesn't come out when someone pulls on it. So what we did is it takes it from this 50 amp straight plug to a 50 amp twist lock style plug. And in schools specifically, you can find these straight style plugs in the food warming section of the cafeteria, which are those units that you fill, they put water in, they put the metal trays in, it keeps the food hot, and they serve the students. Most of the time, if you look, you follow the cable from it underneath or off to the wall to the side, there is a plug you can unplug and usually plug a 50 amp cable directly into. Some of the newer schools have the more efficient ones that take 30 amps, but if you can find one that has a 50 amp plug, you're in business. Also, another place to look for that particular plug is check and see in the gymnasium. Most schools have washers and dryers, or they have a stove somewhere nearby. Take a look and see if there's a 50 amp plug there. I mean, just talk to the building engineer. A lot of times, you tell them exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for a 50 amp, 120, 250 volt outlet. And, more than likely, the building engineer knows about the building, which he should, that he can point it out to say, yeah, we have one right here, or no, we don't. So that's what you're looking for. A lot of times you're not going to find the outlets to be right next to where the distro needs to be set up. So you're going to have a couple hundred feet of this. Like I said, we have 125. What we did was we made two 50-foot runs and one 25-foot run. So, at $3 a cable, you're talking, close to $350, $375, for the whole cable itself. And then the actual the end connectors, which 30-40 bucks a piece. So that is the power distro that we use. If you guys have any question, just feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook or shoot me a message on YouTube or wherever you guys have are friends with me on. I'm not an electrician. I do not claim to be an electrician. I know very basics when it comes to this kind of stuff. Especially with buying a used distro, we had an electrician open it up, go through the inside of it, make sure everything was completely legit and the way it should be. So just I'll help you guys out as much as I can. But if it's something that's over my head, I'm gonna be the first one to tell you, talk to an electrician, talk to someone like Ben Stowe, Daniel Lazada, Brian Billingham, Tim Veach, and the other big production guys on the groups. They know their stuff when it comes to this. We'll try our best to help you guys out, but really, if you're gonna do things like opening up a breaker panel, I've been shocked before. I do not want to die by electricity, so I leave all that stuff to the professionals. So this is an option for some of you guys if you guys need a distro for some of your larger events. Again, I don't know if the guy still has any of these left on eBay for sale, but it worked out well for us. They run about $500 to $700 new. We picked this particular unit up, I believe, for $250. Like I said, it works out well. It's one of those things again where you don't know how nice it is to have until you actually have it. Sort of like buying a DSLR camera. My point and shoot, my handheld video cam's working great. Once I got a DSLR, I couldn't imagine doing any events without it. So again, guys, make sure you subscribe to our channels. Like me on Facebook, facebook.com/JJDJ Entertainment, and practice and enjoy.